All right, are we good to go?
How'd it
Okay.
go?
All right. So this is interview number 3 for Dr. Bowler's individual organizational behavior class. Today I have with me Mr. Daniel McGee. I'll let him introduce his title and whatnot. Mr. Daniel.
Well, thank you, Bryce. The my title is Gaming Commission Administrator for the Port Spaniel Creek Indians, and so my responsibilities include the overall management and oversight of the regulatory aspects of gaming on tribal lands, which involves 3 tribal casinos, 2 in Montgomery and 1 in Atmore. And I've been doing this since 2002, so that's, I don't know, 20 plus years. And then before that, I was a community relations director for 6 years, so basically 30 years of executive management experience.
There we go. So I guess with that being said, I guess we can get started on the interview questions. So describe your leadership style and has it evolved over time?
So yeah, absolutely, it has evolved over time. My first job in a leadership role as a director, I thought my job was to go in there and be a boss,
Mhm.
and to if I would just tell people what to do, they would just do it, and I assumed that would happen. And you learn very quickly that that's not how it works.
Mhm.
You have In order for people to follow you, you have to be a good leader. It just doesn't come with the title that they're automatically going to do what you say and do it right. And so you learn that being a good leader means encouraging people to lead themselves almost. So you kind of set out there what your expectation is, and then you instill in them the fact that you realize their potential to do this, and you have complete faith in the fact that they can do it, and it lifts them up and it empowers them, I guess, to do the job. So I don't have to bark orders or
Right.
do those kind of things. Now, of course, if they're just not doing it, then you do have to step in and do things, but you can also do that with courtesy as well.
Right.
But yes, definitely it has evolved from thinking that a boss meant being bossy to not exact. No, it means being, quote, a leader who lifts other people up, not tears them down.
Right. That's a great answer. What are the most critical decisions you have made as a manager, or you make as a manager?
Um, Well, there's anytime you decide to terminate somebody is a critical decision. There's 2 types of decisions. You've got the critical decision that affects someone's personal life,
Mhm.
and then you've got a critical decision that affects the organization. And so they're both, I would think, sometimes the hardest kinds of decisions that you have to make. Obviously, when you're terminating somebody, you are affecting their livelihood, and you're doing that, and you shouldn't go into that with anger or anything. It should be well thought out and done. Secondly, whenever you're making a decision that affects many more people, it affects change,
Mhm.
and so people don't always react to change well. So those kind of critical decisions. Now you have to make quick minute decisions about things, emergency quote things, but those are not going to be your norm. But most of the times when you are making a decision that impacts a lot of people and it makes a big change, those are the most critical ones you have to handle with care and make sure it's well thought out. And you saw input from other leaders in the organization, and some of the leaders that, especially the ones that a lot of times are not going to come to you when you are the top guy. They feel intimidated. It's not because you are intimidating or you've said things to come across as intimidating.
Mm.
It's just because of your position. They don't feel
Right.
like they can go to you. So you have to involve those people that they are going to go to. And
Gotcha.
you identify those people in the organization, make sure they're involved in the decision and they have buy-in, so that when they do go to those people, they can explain, well, we all worked on this and here's the decision. It won't be just, oh, well, Daniel said, I didn't really agree with it, but he said it, so we got to do it. That's not what you want. You want
Well,
people to like it. Yeah.
Well, I think that novates well into this next question, which is like, what strategies do you use to foster collaboration and teamwork?
Um, Fostering collaboration and teamwork, it kind of ties back to what I said earlier about
Mhm.
instilling in people that they have the knowledge, the
Mhm.
skills, and my trust to do a job.
Right.
And it's better to not always put people together that always work together,
Mhm.
because then you're going to always get the same result. Usually,
Mhm.
you're going to have one of those in the group who kind of takes charge, and another one who just kind of does what they're told to do. So it's good to mix it up and put people together on a project that haven't always worked together, because you get a different point of view. You know what I mean?
Right.
So and just making sure that you give them the liberty to do it.
Yeah.
You say, look, I'm trusting. I'm assigning this to you. Here's the deadline. Here's my expectations. My general view of what I want from it. And then you say, go forth and do it.
Right.
And give them the reins to do it. Give them what they need. Give them the time they need. Give them the resources they need. But then trust that they're going to do it. And then when it comes back to you at the end of the day, obviously, if it's something that's definitely going to have your name on it, you want to make sure it's right to your standards. But at the same time, when they have done it, if they did a good job, then you tell them they did a good job. And when you present it, you don't say it was your idea. Obviously, you say, hey, I signed this to team so and so. They did a great job.
Mhm.
I reviewed it. Whether I reviewed it and made 100,000 changes, don't be like, I reviewed it and had to fix it all up and do all this. No,
Yeah.
I reviewed it. It looks great. I'm proud of the team, and this is what we would like to present.
Awesome. So I think this is a good one. A good something I think you're pretty good at. What are some tools you use to increase employee morale and productivity?
So I look at 2 types of employment around.
Yeah.
The productivity hopefully will take care of itself if people are happy.
You're right.
So I do a few things. So you have your infrastructure, say employee morale. So we offer PTO. We don't question every little request that you take for PTO. It's not like, we're denying a lot of PTO. It's like, you know how much PTO you have and you know what job you have to get done. So you tell me, can you take PTO? Not
Mhm.
asking me if I should give you PTO. Because some people will be like, well, you told me I could take PTO, even though they know they had a job to do, but they assume since you told them they could take PTO that you must be inferring that they didn't have to do that job as soon as they had to, because I
Mhm.
should have known when I approved it that you only had 1 day left on your project. You had a, it's like, no, you should know you can take PTO, and that's usually what I do. But you give PTO, you give them leeway to, you're not always beating them down with no, you cannot take PTO.
Yeah.
Just like put the leadership back in their hands and say, well, you tell me if you can take PTO.
Yeah.
You have it, I'm not denying it. So your people aren't scared to do that. So it lifts that part up. They feel they have the freedom to have a life and work. Two, of course, you have your benefits and you provide good benefits. On the other hand, you have the fun employee morale stuff that you need. And I like to do at least something every quarter.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it also goes back to encouraging the teamwork and stuff. But we always do something fun that's not work related at all. We do it during work, so it's not like you had to take your own time, kind of thing. Whether it be during Halloween, we're going to have a pumpkin decorating contest, or at Christmas, we're going to have our Christmas party, and we may have a little extra long lunch for people bring in their own ornaments and decorate their own ornaments, and we provide this stuff. And it's people really enjoy it sitting
Mhm.
down, and you really start seeing personalities
Right.
of employees that they don't like, that they kind of hold back to share the fun parts of them.
Right.
And we joke with it. It really creates a family atmosphere.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of those things. And it, like I said, it breaks up the year. It's
Mhm.
something to look forward to, something every quarter, even if it's just a little thing. You know, it's
Right.
important.
No, that's awesome. So, we gotta. I'm trying to get through all these. Hopefully, we can get them
Mhm.
done. So, how do you navigate difficult conversations with employees?
Okay, well, if it's a termination, you have to keep it simple and quick. It's the
Mhm.
worst part of it because you don't want to say too much. You don't want an emotional outburst if you can help it. So it's almost like you just get to it quickly. Now, if it's just a difficult conversation that you were trying to change behavior or do something, you handle it with grace, and you're putting you at this before you've had this difficult conversation. It normally shouldn't be a surprise to
Right.
the employee because along the way you may have noticed these things and you've been giving little, hey, you need to watch this, or
Mhm.
hey, keep an eye on this. But by the time you have to have that difficult conversation, it should not come as a surprise. If it comes as a complete surprise, maybe you didn't do your job as a leader.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
if it's one particular standout point, you've got to go in and you say, look, this is what's been done, and I know you're better than that. So you do encouragement. It's like you take a bone, but give a bone
Yeah.
at the same time. So tell them what they did wrong at the same time. Lift them up with the things they do right,
Mhm.
but make it very clear what they did wrong and what your expectation is the most important thing.
Gotcha. So, how do you ensure that your team aligns with organizational goals?
So we do check-ins with the
Yeah.
team. We do surveys.
All right.
We try to do at least twice a year at a minimum 1 year. It's just a general. No, are you happy? What would you like to see better? Do you feel valued?
Yeah.
Do you, at the same time, do you believe in our concept, or do you believe in our organizational goals for the TGC?
Mhm.
Do you think we're accomplishing it? So we do those to check in,
Right.
so we can see where we're at, and we'll know if something's off kilter. We can get in front of it.
Gotcha.
So,
So, what are your desired attributes for the ideal employee? Like,
ideal employee.
yeah, like I guess if you had a star, what kind of attributes are you looking for if you had it, if everyone had it, I guess.
Yeah.
It would,
Trust
yeah.
in two ways. Trust in they're going to do the job,
Mhm.
and they're going to do it well. I mean, nobody's perfect, but they're going to do the job, get it done, and they're going to do it well. And you can trust them to have the same values and, like you said, the organizational goals as you do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And they put that forth when you have a conversation with them, and you can tell, and you can just see it and you feel it, that you're on the same page. So trust, all the attributes everyone wants: trust, loyalty,
Mhm.
hardworking. At the same time, they know how to relax when they need to. It's just a well run up employee, but one that knows what they're doing. And if they don't know, they come to you. They don't come to you for every little thing. They don't try to put the monkey on your back. It's like they come to you to say, I have a problem. I want your advice. I'm going to handle it. But can you just give me your advice? They don't want to try to leave it with you.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. So, how do you evaluate employee performance?
so we do annual performance evaluations.
Mhm.
Okay. We also do quarterly, but we do those based on goals they set for themselves.
Right.
So where it's almost like you have a check-in every quarter. Now, these quarterly goals are things that you're choosing to do above and beyond what your everyday duties are. So you don't have to do them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But if you do them, then you get a reward. But mainly we do our annual evaluations. I encourage directors to always check in with your employees. Are they having any issues? Hey, is there anything I'm missing? And or if I display any behavior or you're not, that kind of comes off the wrong way. And
Mhm.
but like I said, if you're checking all along the way, so when it comes time for the evaluation and you do have something negative, it shouldn't be a surprise
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
employee. They should have seen it coming,
Mhm.
expected it, and at the same time, you're encouraging them. So if you're encouraging them all the time, they're also going to expect that they get a glowing annual evaluation to make sure it aligns with what you have been telling them all year. Don't surprise the employee.
Gotcha. So this one is it's kind of wordy, so I'll probably say it twice. But so how do you set clear expectations and accountability in a way that builds upon performance without discouraging employees? So
Yeah. So I think the key is, how do you set clear expectations?
yeah, and accountability in a
Yeah.
way that builds upon overall performance without discouraging employees.
Yeah. I think what you do is don't wait until something happens to tell them what your expectations were.
Mhm.
It's from the beginning. Say, in a positive way.
Mhm.
So, especially if it's a new employee, and once
Yeah.
you've told them once, I'm very big on, I told you this once, I told you when you started, nothing has changed unless you saw something different, which you have
Mhm.
not. Is here are my expectations. I always try to put a positive spin on it. So basically, if I'm saying I don't expect you to be late, I can't. You can't just say I don't expect you to be late. Just say, what does that mean?
Mhm.
Well, everybody's late a little bit. Look, I expect everyone to be in the office. Now we're talking, you got salaried employees, you got hourly employees.
Mhm.
But so if you're an hourly employee, say you're giving them 15 minutes of grace to be in PM. It's still tardy, but they don't have to call you at 8 or 1. Say, oh my God, I'm going to be tardy. No, it's like if I haven't seen you by 8:15, I should have heard from you, or by
Mhm.
8:30. But you set very distinct things out there in
Mhm.
the beginning. But once
Yeah.
you do it in the beginning, they should always refer back to that email of what it is, to know what their expectations are, and make sure you're consistent
Yeah.
with all the employees. Not, oh, one gets to do this and one gets to do that. At the same time, you have to constantly remind people that something may not be necessarily equal, but it doesn't mean it's not fair.
Mhm.
This person's job is a totally different kind of job. This person's place in the position is a totally different kind of position. So yeah, I may not be treating you the same, but I'm not being unfair. I'm just not being
Gotcha.
equal because you have different positions. So
Oh,
it may
that's
not be equal, but it's fair.
Okay.
I mean,
No,
it
that's
may
a,
not be fair, but it's equal, or
no,
whatever
there
it
you
was
go.
I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know.
may
It
not
sounded good
be
though.
equal, but it's fair.
Okay. So the second half of this of that same question was like, so what is the best way to handle putting an employee through a performance enhancement plan?
Enhancement, meaning they are
So
not
like
performing as they should, and you
yeah,
want them to do better.
and you create something that allows them to is like, look, maybe you outline a plan for them to better or to create more output or to improvement. Yeah, it's all
Okay.
about improvement. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good practice to point out the problem first and
Hmm.
say, here's why we're having this discussion. And what I
Hmm.
think needs to happen is we need a performance enhancement plan. The first question I'm going to do is one, I'm going to try to determine, do they realize they need a performance enhancement plan
Yeah.
first? And if they are on board, yes, I agree, I'm slacking and I want to do better. Then my first thing would be, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to bring me a performance enhancement plan.
Hmm.
You know what your workload is, you know what your lifestyle is, you know how you work. What I mean? I'm not getting into how you do it. If you wait to the last minute or you do this, I mean, sometimes it's just the nature of somebody. But as long as they get it done, is what I care about. So I first may say, well, why don't you bring me a performance enhancement plan that you think you need from me? I mean, or what can I do to help you and what you
Hmm.
can do to help yourself reach this goal and bring it to me. Then let's discuss it. And then I may say, well, it needs to be a little stronger than this. And, it opens the door to the conversation, but opens it from their point of view, not from you dictating to them.
Yeah.
Yes, I could exactly dictate to them, but if they're hating every minute of it, are they probably going to do well? Are they going to do just enough to get by? Versus if it was their idea and their plan, they're going to buy into it a whole lot more and you can do it. So that would be my advice. And
Yeah.
if you want one, it's going to be positive,
Gotcha.
you know.
Okay. So these are just the two closing questions. Just kind of wrap things up. So what is the most rewarding part of your job?
It's funny because the most rewarding parts of my job would be the same rewards I get from any job I do. And
Hmm.
it's almost the same thing that everybody wants, no matter what position you get into. Yeah, I'm in a position where not many people have to tell me what to do anymore. I'm
Hmm.
pretty much in the position to, you know, create opportunities for other people to do things uh, and to lift them up. But at the same time, when I do that, or when I do make a decision, or when I do something that affects a lot of people, I still need to hear what a good job I did.
Right.
Even from the employees that have been, or look, I love it when they say, "We love you. You're so great. You're such a great administrator. Wish I'd had, I wish I'd had a boss like you at my last job." So
Mhm.
that's important, no matter how high up you get in the business hierarchy of things. Is you still need that feedback that you're doing a good job because
Yeah.
you don't have it anymore once you reach both the top. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like you have a board, but they're not watching you every day. They can't necessarily. They can do a general evaluation of, oh yeah, at the end of the year you met the budget. We're happy. But
Yeah.
as far as my daily performance, who's giving me the feedback that I'm actually doing a good job?
Yeah.
And so when your employees come to you, the people who work in your industry, even if they're not directly under me, like when we're at the employee picnic, is when and those employee morale events, is when those people who never see me, because you got to be face forward in those things and be involved in everything that's going on, and you're the leader of the happiness. And so if you're happy, they're happy, and then they feel more comfortable coming to me and say, "I just want to tell you how grateful I am for this job. Oh,
Mhm.
I want to tell you how I appreciate you and all the stuff you give us and do for us, and oh, that decision you made, even if it's it necessarily didn't help me, but I understand why you did it. Those things, because that's the thing. I want them to understand when I put something out that affects them, I'm not just throwing it at them and say do it. I always put a reason behind why I'm doing what we're doing. How it's going to affect you, and the fact is that it can't be undone. This is how it is. But if you need to talk it through or you have a question, please call me. Call and I'll give someone else if they're not comfortable with me another avenue to talk to your supervisor and they can relay your thoughts to me. Like I said, it may not make a difference, but it will be taken into consideration.
Okay.
And
So
they may
what?
bring something up I never thought of, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. So,
So no, that's a great answer. So the final question here is, what advice would you give someone aspiring to become a manager or a leader?
so I'm going to leave quote education out of it because I don't think that necessarily makes a good leader at all.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So we're going to say this is your past that and quote, you're in a point where you can aspire to be a leader. Nothing like education is going to hold you back. So let's just assume that's not an issue. If you want to be a manager, go ahead and start managing, even when
Mhm.
you're not a manager. Or if
Mhm.
you want to be a leader, go ahead, you start leading, even though you're not necessarily being given a position. That means if you see a department or another coworker or something is struggling with something and you're in a position to help them, like you may know, then you step up and you say, "Hey, what's going on? Oh, let's talk it through." Blah, blah, blah. That's being a leader.
Mhm.
So just because you don't have the title or the role doesn't mean you can't be a manager or a leader.
Mhm.
By setting examples to people of how you work and how you're here every day and you show up and you're doing the job and you're doing the dirty work and you're staying late if you need to, not because you're a manager, because you want to be a manager. Most people say, "Oh, but when I become a manager, I'll do this and I'll do that." It's like, why don't you do that and do this and do that now so that when it comes time to appoint a manager, they're going to look at you instead of
Right.
you saying, "Well, you make me a manager, then I'll do this." That's just the wrong approach. And so many people, a lot of young people are getting to be like that. They're like, "No, I want I'm not going to do this. Not my job." But why not? If you want, the people I have made managers in the past were already people I saw leading the organization, or something happened where the manager stepped down,
Mhm.
and they just kind of stepped up and said, "Hey, can I help? I know we don't have a manager, right now. What can I do to fill in? Is something I can do until we get it?" Or while you had a manager there, you were constantly saying, "Hey, you need anything from me? Is there anything I can do to help you with your job? If you got a big load, just I'm here." You don't
Mhm.
want to hound them about it, but you
Right.
want to be like, or if he says something like, "Oh, yeah, I got to do this and I got to do that, and then I got this thing," and you could tell us that your boss or it's kind of you say, "Well, why don't you let me if it'll help you if you want me to kind of come up with a draft of that, and then I'll shoot it to you, and then you can you'll have a starting point instead of working from scratch." Just then when it comes time to be a manager, who are they going to pick? Most likely,
Yeah.
hopefully. And if they don't get discouraged. You keep at it.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't get that one because you've only been there a year. Maybe you keep at it. Don't be like, oh, well, I'm quitting because all this extra work because I didn't get the job. It's going to pay off eventually. And if it doesn't after a while, then you look for somewhere else to go. But the whole time you've learned, you've gained experience. So
Yeah.
you didn't, it wasn't a waste.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think that kind of wraps up everything. I do appreciate your time. I mean, we got a lot of good feedback. Thank you for, honestly, I learned a lot, really. So once again, thank you for your time, Mr. Daniel, and I'll give you a call whenever we wrap this up. So thank you.
And if you or any of your team need other managers to interview, let me know because I can recommend some good managers
Okay, we'll
in
do.
different fields. So
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr.
thanks.
Daniel.
All right.
Bye.